Hi everyone, hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the practice session of strategic business leadership. Welcome to the practice session of strategic business leadership for the upcoming attempts of the exam. Well, these classes are specifically designed for the students, those who want to do practice, right? Now, in these classes, I'll be solving different practice questions in front of you guys so that you have an idea that how to deal with these type of questions. If you guys know about our course, so we had done multiple questions on the new formats that have been given, right? Now the advanced information is available. Now you get an idea of the industry before. But since we have done all those papers, now what we have to do, we have to do practice considering the past available exams, right? Considering the past and the previous available exams. So the best and the first available exam was of September 18. Yes, guys, this was the first attempt of SBL. This was the first attempt of SBL. This was from the construction sector, I believe. Yeah, this was from the construction sector. So we're gonna, in today's class, it will have, I guess, 1 or 2 sessions that we'll try to close this first question, right? We'll try to close this first question. Yeah. So strategic business leadership, the first question is Cofold construction. The first question is Cofold construction. Let's read this again. In my book, these questions are available. The book is on LMS, right? We'll discuss the questions that have been asked. We'll read the exhibits that have been given, okay? And then I have prepared my pointers of answers that is in the book also. I have prepared my pointers of answer that is in the book also. We surely be gonna be discussing these answers also, and we'll draft this question on the exam platform. So you guys must have an idea that what is SBL and how to do that. And since we'll solve couple of attempts and multiple attempts like that, we'll solve Cofold, we'll solve highlight, smartware, and slowly and steadily we'll go to that, right? And as per my knowledge, you guys now have started covering theory also, right? As per my knowledge, you guys have now started covering theory also. So in theoretical chapters, we have read approx the risk management chapter, right? And risk management and kind of the project management chapters are tested here. So it will give you a brief idea that what to do and how to do. So this is the introduction page. As I've told a lot in my classes that the introduction page is an important one. I've told a lot in my classes that the introduction page is an important page. So make sure you have read this page and you have understood the industry, because if you have understood the industry, this will surely gonna be benefit you, right? If you have understood the industry, this is going to surely be benefit you. So introduction, Cofold Construction Company. This is your company name, is a listed construction company. It's a listed, and since if it's a company is a listed, it will have multiple compliances. It will need to make sure multiple stakeholders are satisfied, because if you are a listed, since I belong to an listed entity, it gets you more compliance, right? It gives you more compliance to be followed. Is a construction company. Its head office is in the capital city of Lemdhasa of the country of Omegland. So it's the city name and it's the country name. Omegland has 2 neighboring countries, Alfia and Beetle. So we have 2 countries also, right? Alfia and Beetle. So the countryside in both Alfia and Omegland is generally flat. In Beetle, there is a large range of mountains, the Isnadi Mountains, which separates its eastern region from the rest of the country. So now they have given you some information of the other countries also, right? We are in Omegland. We have 2 different neighbors, that's Beetle as well as Althea. Okay, that's Beetle as well as Althea. Just for a reference, if someone has done a mini mock question named Domosco, if you guys have done a mini mock question named Domosco, so this is kind of a similar to that, right? Because I have solved mini mocks with you guys, so this is kind of similar with you guys. So the countryside in both Althea and Omegaland is generally flat. In Beetle, there is large range of mountains, the Isnardi Mountains, which separates its eastern region from the rest of the country. All three countries uses the same currency, the dollar. So now there is, now see, if someone is a student and he needs to think of the questions he's gonna get, so now he will be sure that I won't be having a question of discussing the currency risks between the three countries. Why? Because all these three countries have the same currency, so there's no particular complexity regarding the currency, so that's a good thing. The board of CC comprises 50% of executive directors and 50% of independent non-executive directors. The senior brand board members are Chairman Ayman Bhutia, Chief Executive Burton, and Senior NAD Alex Larson. Okay, so this is the board level that we have. And it is, I would say, there must be not a question of corporate governance because we have 50-50 ratio. So that's also fine. Okay, so that's also fine. Now, CC's core business is to provide support services such as upgrade of electricity networks. Okay, so its core business is to provide upgrade of electricity networks and road renewal and maintenance. So what they do, they upgrade the electricity networks, they do the road renewable and maintenance in all three countries. Now, if someone is following how to attempt this exam, they must highlight the important areas. They should highlight the important areas here, because if they're highlighting the most important areas, and they should highlight the important areas, so they don't have to look again for the points. They must know that I have highlighted the important points, so I'll just look back and discuss what is the important point, and we'll go back into my exam. Okay, so they have core businesses to provide support services. They give electricity networks, road renewal and maintenance in all three countries. However, it has also undertaken road construction projects of increasing size and complexity. It has also undertaken road construction projects of increasing size and complexity. Initially, CC carried out most of its major construction projects in Omegaland. Its biggest project, there is a ring road around the city in Lampadasa. So they have done, I would say, a big projects, right, in Omegaland also. CC also had started to develop a portfolio in Althea. The biggest development there being a road between Fee City and Toe Town, which was completed in 2000. X means 000, right? So 2000. That was completed in 2000. Okay. Now, to date, CC has not carried out any road construction projects in Beetle. We haven't worked in Beetle. We have worked in Omegaland. We might have worked in Althea, but we haven't worked in Beetle. Now, these are the points to remember. If you're working, if you want to clear SBL, you must have a memory to remember points, or at least you should highlight. The biggest development there, however, an opportunity has arisen for CC to tender for construction of a major road in Beetle, which would be the biggest project which CC has undertaken to date. So now we have an opportunity. To make sure to get a new project, that's a road of Beetle, which will give us a biggest project that we have done till now, right? It's the biggest project that we have done till now. Then we have 6 exhibits to take care of. Exhibit 1, most recent annual report of CC. Exhibit 2, press release of the announcements of the new road in Beetle. Exhibit 3, forecast revenues and cost for the construction of the new road in Beetle. Exhibit 4, outline contents of PID and a summary of operational issues sessions of PID. PID means project initiation documents. Those students who have taken my theory class, they must have an idea of that. If not, otherwise those students who have taken Railco name question, I have solved PID there also. But if not, then I'll teach what is PID in this question also, right? I'll teach PID in this question also. Then a transcript of emergency meeting, at CC's head office, and reports of an interview with Burton with her. Reports of an interview with Burton with her. Okay. Now here we have the questions. And see the beauty of SBL, it gets you in the different roles. In one question, you are Alex Larson, the senior NED of CC. In one question, you are Alex Larson, that senior NED of CC, right? Whereas another question, you might be someone else. So, sir, do the roles important that much? Do the roles have that much importance? Yeah, it describes your communication. If you are in senior NED, you'll be communicating much, I will say, logically, and you'll communicating in a much mannered way. But if you're some kind of a junior person, then such kind of illogical arguments are also, I would say, worth it, because a junior might do that. So the role defines, I would say the role defines that how exactly you're gonna be discussing. So CC has been invited to tender the contract for construction of a new road in Beetle. It was discussed, right? We are going to tender for that. As the preferred partner of Beetle's government, CC's finance team has drawn up financial forecast for this project. However, you have doubts about the contract, you want it to be discussed thoroughly at next board meeting. You're particularly concerned whether CC will be able to fulfill the criteria stated by Beetle's transport minister. Now see, we want that contract, we want to have that contract, but there is a specific criteria made by Beetle's government. So we make sure that we are following that. That specific criteria made by Beetle's government. So we make sure that we are following that. And if we are following that, so we make sure that we are getting this contract, right? Prepare a briefing paper. We know how to prepare a briefing paper for the board meeting. Analyze the financial and non-financial issues which will affect the final decision whether to accept the contract or not. Our recommendation is not required, but you have to make sure that you discuss financial and non-financial issues. You have to make sure that you discuss financial and non-financial issues. Okay. Professional skills marks are available for demonstrating analysis skills, identifying information which is relevant to the decision. Okay. So analysis skill is here. So if I highlight the important terms, see that we have to make the briefing paper. We have to do briefing paper. Okay. Okay. So we have to now make a briefing paper, and then financial and non-financial metrics needs to be discussed, right? After that, so what we have to do, financial and non-financial issues that will affect the decision. The skill is analysis skills. The marks are, I would say, 22 marks now. Okay, so approx 22 marks. To get 22 marks, you have to make approx 12, some good 12 points, right? Some good 12 points. So these are the important things you need to do. The verb here is analysis. So you need to analyze, okay? The verb here is analysis, so you need to analyze. So the first question is to discuss the financial and non-financial issues of that contract. Which contract? Beatles. So we don't know anything about Beatles contract. Don't worry, we haven't read the exhibits. If you think, you can see that most recent annual report is one of the exhibit that we have to read. Press release of an announcement is an exhibit we have to read. Forecast revenues and cost of construction of new road is the exhibit we have to read. Outline contents of PID and summary of operational issues is the exhibit we have to read. So we have an exhibits, right, to read, and we'll get much data, and then we'll link it with the scenario. The second question is, discuss the difficulties of CC may face in fulfilling the criteria stated by Desmond Otiano, the Transport Minister. So now you have to discuss the difficulties also, right? You have to discuss the difficulties also that you might face in following the criteria stated by Transport Minister. So basically, Transport Minister has stated that we'll give this contract to that company who has good CSR levels, who have experienced staff. So there might be difficulty in fulfilling that criteria. Just think of the minister, that what he will want. He might ask you to complete project as early as possible, right? He's the Beatles transport minister. So he would ask you, if you want this contract, then give us guarantee. If you want this contract, then give us guarantee that you'll get the project done as early as possible. So you might have some difficulties. And in the previous page, they might discussed, yeah, here in the third line, that Beetle, there's a large range of mountains, the Isnadi Mountains. In Beetle, there are mountains also. So if there are mountains, you might, and considering the construction sector, so you might have required time, right? Now see, think of the industry. If you're in the industry, if you're in that industry, you're going to be acing this question very easily. I remember this was the first question of SBL, and those students who belong to the industry of construction, they found it very easily. But if a student who haven't experience of any industry, he found this question difficult. Okay, so again, the important point is that we have to continue the briefing paper. We need to continue the briefing paper, right? And then we have to use the commercial acumen, commercial sense here, commercial sense here. Now, second question, that CC has been awarded a contract to build the road in Beetle. It is now January 2002. Now you have won the contract. You committed, right? Now you have won the contract, and planning for the project has started. You are Joe Issa, the project manager. Now from senior entity, now you are project manager. From senior entity, you are now project manager for the construction of road. You have just been appointed as a project manager, and the original project manager left CC suddenly 1 month ago. This is in suspicion. Why did he or she left? Oliver Vesunga, the junior member of the project team, began to draft the project initiation document during the time when No was acting as a project. So this document, this is basically a document which lists all the key factors of the project. What is project objective? What is object? What's timeline? What's project, I would say, scope? What is project stakeholders? What's project's budget? What's project's deadline? What's project's stakeholders? So this is a document that's signed by all the project stakeholders that we have agreed to this document. So this was prepared by a junior member. This was project by a junior member, and my students, juniors are supposed to make mistakes, right? Childs are supposed to make mistakes. So if this contract is made by a junior member, he has bound to do mistakes, right? And time and no one is acting as a manager, he has prepared for your review the outline contents. And since now you are now new project manager, you have to highlight the mistakes that he have done. You have to highlight the mistake that he have done. Okay. A summary. He has prepared your review and project initiation document and a summary of section in it and operational issues affecting the project. There must be the operational issues also. Prepare a memo addressed by Oliver Vesunga, which you have to prepare a memo. So see the formats, which critically evaluates the outline contents and summary of operational issues in the project initiation document, which he has prepared and recommended improvements, which he has prepared and recommends improvements. Professional skills marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skills, right? Professional skills mark are available for demonstrating skepticism skills, because now you have to evaluate a document, right? You have to criticize someone that he or she might have done mistakes. So that skill required here, the skill required here is a skepticism skill. The skill required here is skepticism skills. We have 18 marks. So for 18 marks, we would approximately be making 9 points. We'll approximately be making 9 points. Okay. Now, the other questions here, see, It is now July 2002, 3 months after CC's constructions of new road in Beach will start. You are Pat Singh, consultant employed. Now you are a consultant. You are not the employee of the company. You are an external consultant. You have just left the emergency meeting regarding the incident at the construction site. Guys, there went an incident, right? Now there's an incident at the construction site. Responding to requests made by CC's chairman, Emina Bahudia, at the end of the meeting, prepare a confidential memo. You are preparing a memo which is confidential, which discusses ethical and reputational concerns. So there must be some incident and the company might be not acting ethically there. The company might be not acting ethically there, right? So you have to again show the skepticism skills. You have to again show the skepticism skills. Then a summary for CC's board to review, assessing the control weakness, discussed at the emergency meeting, stating for each control weakness, its consequence and recommendations. Now, slight of audit touch, I will say here. Now, slight of audit touch, I'll say here. They asked you to make a chart which will state weakness, its consequence and recommendations. So kind of an audit touch. This type of questions have been asked in the audit touch. And believe me, this was the first paper of SBL. A briefing paper for CC's next board meeting, advising the board of the advantages of CC's of establishing a separate risk committee. Now board is thinking of making or making some risk committee, okay? Now see here that we have got 12 marks for this. So approx 6 points. We have got 18 marks for this. I'll say to add professional marks also, because these are for your professional manner. But if you add it into the main marks, so that means you're writing some more points. And if you're writing more points in a less time, it's a good thing. And then 8 into, so it will give you around 10 marks. So it will give you around 10 marks, okay? So, risk committee. Now it is now October 2002, 6 months, began construction of new road. You're a Pat Singh, consultant employed. Burden Wada has asked you to help him in prepare next board meeting, which will discuss investment in big data analytics and long-term infrastructure of management of the roads. So you have to prepare 2 slides, and usually in the slides, the skills are communication. Usually in the slides, the skills are communication to the chief executive to present to the board, discusses the benefits and the cost of CC, investing it in a big data, and evaluates the possible opportunity to undertake long-term infrastructure management of the roads in 3 countries. So communication skills. Now, see, you have read all the requirements, right? You have read all the requirements. Now remember what you have to do. First, you have to do financial and non-financial measures of the new project in Beetle. Then you have to identify the difficulties you might face in completing that project. Then you have to make a memo and identify the mistakes in the project initiation document, and you have to recommend some improvements also. After that, you're going to make a confidential memo of ethical and reputational concerns. That incident happens. So what incident? I don't know. We haven't read the exhibits now, but we'll read it. And then a summary of CC's board for review, assessing the control weaknesses at the emergency meeting. So control weaknesses needs to be identified and pasted there. And then a briefing paper of next board meeting advising risk committee. Okay, then 2 slides, making sure that investment in big data is done by CC and what benefits it's gonna get. Now think of the construction sector, that what benefits of investments are to be done in big data are going to benefit to CC. What benefits they are going to get to the CC, and evaluates the possible opportunity to undertake long-term infrastructure management of the roads. So 8 into 10 marks. So now see, we haven't read the exhibits, but we know what to do. Now we have to read the exhibits. Now one thing is that some of the questions will give you some generalized requirement. Like there will be no data of that particular requirement in the question. There will be no data of that particular requirement in the question, but you guys have to do that. And considering that's the general requirement, you're going to be linking it with the industry and the question that have been given to you. The other thing which I wanted to tell you is to allocate the exhibits. You must know that this requirement is majorly from that exhibit. I'm not saying that use completely that exhibit. I'm not saying that. But you must know that this particular requirement is majorly from this exhibit. Just for example, see exhibit 4. I have written exhibit 4 here. That prepare a memo, evaluates contents and the summary of operational issues in the project initiation document and recommend improvements. See what's exhibit 4? Outline contents of the PID and summary of operational issues. So that means that question 2 is majorly or more or less it's from this exhibit. I'm not saying that every question will be from one particular exhibit, but if you got an idea of which questions are from which exhibit, you'll be able to draft more easily. Okay. So has the question been read completely? Nah, we have just read the requirements. Now we have exhibits to read. And then we have to highlight some important points. And after those important points, we have to draft this answer. So these are the lengthy classes, guys. Now, exhibit 1. Extract from the most recent annual report of CC. So chief executive statement, CC's results have shown increased profitability and stronger cash flow. Okay, good. Our profitability is increased. Our cash flows are strong. The quality and value of newer projects have been enhanced by more focused approach to tendering. So now we are more focused towards tenders, and Beetle is a tender project. Okay. We have avoided speculative projects and concentrated on larger projects with high margins and advantageous contract terms. So we are looking the projects which gives us high margin and advantageous contract terms. So we have written this in our annual report, okay? We believe that these are the projects which can unlock new opportunities for CC. As a result, I am delighted to announce the first increase in the dividends for 3 years, and we have increased the dividend also. That means our project, our company is growing. Therefore, we are paying more because we have increased our dividends. So the results reflects the successful completion of the ring route linking the main roads and around Lambadhasa. The results is basically because the ring road that we made, discussed in the first page. So the 10 billion earnings from this CC's biggest ever construction project have shown CC's ability to expand the scope and size of project which it undertakes. So that means that's the 10 billion earnings we got from that. So it was one of the biggest project, and the Beatles project is among the largest ones. CC stakeholders first program aiming to enhance our relationships with all our key stakeholders has also delivered benefits. We look forward to the prospect of building on our strong relationship with the government of Omagland. We also continue to engage with communities affected by our work. We are mindful of the economic benefits which improved infrastructure will bring, but we'll also want to address concerns about adverse impacts of environment. So they are kind of a good industry. They portray to be a good industry. They're thinking of the environment also and all that. Now, looking forward, the development over the next 2 years of our Site Smart initiative will improve our project management in all aspects. It will result in more effective deployment of the business resources, reducing wasting time and enhancing our competitiveness. So that Site Smart initiative has been implemented. What's that? It's basically a kind of an application, I would say, that will let them to do more effective deployment of resources, reducing wasting time, and enhancing our competitiveness by reducing project lead times. Okay, so we also see the effective use of big data. So this particular paragraph can be linked in the big data, because see, linking with scenario is very important. In this paper, you have to make sure that you are linking it with the scenario, because if you are not linking it with the scenario, you might face some difficulty. Because you are not linking with the scenario, you might face some difficulty here. So this can be discussed in big data. Then firstly, in SBL, we're gonna be read exhibits hurriedly, but when we know that we are attempting the question, we might refer to the exhibit again, okay? Because we will be needing some points to be written. I'm delighted also to report that our present operations in Alphia are showing profit for the first time. So we did the projects in Alphia, we are in Omegland, we are in Alphia, we did the project in Alphia, that the fee I would say the fee city and the toe town road to be made, that road was made by us. So I'm delighting also to report our operations in Alphia became profitable for the first time. The main factor depressing results in Alphia continues to be losses from the contract. So we had a loss initially in this international project. We had a loss initially. The board has reflected hard on the issues which arose on this project. We believe that the lessons we have learned are positively influencing our systems and working practices, and this will be demonstrated on future projects. So they think that we have learned some lessons now. Why? Because we made loss here initially. We made loss. So we make sure that we are not making losses. Now see, you need to implement these points in detail. You need to discuss these points that we did contract in Alphia, we got loss. So we make sure that we are going for Beetle, so we should not be doing any loss. The board formally reviews major risk as a regular part of its agenda, and for risk management is incorporated with operational systems, with daily activities of CC, audit committee responsibility. You must know the audit committee. We have read these committees. CC has an audit committee comprised entirely of independent entities in line with international governance practice. All committee members have accountancy for finance qualification. The committee meets every 3 months. It reports to the board significant issues considered in relation to financial statement and the external audit process. So audit committee is doing his job. Audit committee is doing his job. The committee reviews and approves the role and mandate of internal audit plan, and monitors and reviews the effectiveness of its works, that CC's financial and accounting systems. Okay, the committee has general responsibility for promoting sound risk management and internal control systems. The committee is assisted in its work by a risk manager and health and safety manager. So a risk manager and health and safety manager is there. Specific risks. Every organization knows their risk, so they have highlighted some of the risk here. The CC is responsible for minimizing the risk of hazards and dangers to the employee. Yeah, this is one of the risk in the construction sector. This is one of the risk in the construction sector that you face. These type of risk, hazardous risk, that your employees might get hurt or all that, right? And others arising from its operations. The health and safety manager's principal responsibilities including maintaining health and safety documentation, organizing training, accreditation for staff, reviewing health and safety reports, and monitoring compliance in conjunction with internal audit. Okay. CC is obliged to report 3 lakh fines. CC is obliged to report 3 lakh fines it paid as a result of injuries to employees arising from failures to remedy dangerous conditions on site. Okay. The health and safety manager has made recommendations for enhanced site safety procedures, which will be implemented on current and future contracts, Okay. CC requires a stream of successful bids and projects to deliver value for shareholders. Now, tendering needs to be another risk here, that it cannot commit too many bids nor accept projects which offer insufficient returns to excessive risk. The board is considering specifying a minimum profit margin of 8% or more. So now board is considering a specific margin that we should be accepting the project which gives us 8% margin. Otherwise, we won't be accepting that tender. Okay. Any failure of projects to meet time, budgets, and quality requirements represents a fundamental threat to CC's business. Such failure can arise from unrealistic plans, failure to assess progress properly, and lack of effective reporting. CC's Site Smart initiative focused on improved project delivery. So that means such kind of issues that happen in a project delivery, just like example of Alphia that we had a loss there. So Site Smart is going to resolve that issue. CC's sustainability strategy is designed to deliver the environmental outcomes which society demands. CC has enhanced its program for reducing carbon emissions. CC is focusing on reduction of energy and fuel consumption. CC is also aimed to minimize the disruption to communities and the natural environment caused by its activities. It consults with community representatives and other interested parties to address these issues. Okay. Now, failure to maintain liquidity and meet loan repayment and covenant requirements will jeopardize CC's ability to win new contracts. So make sure they are meeting with their covenants. CC aims to maintain a capital structure which balances equity and debt and ensures liquidity and working capital requirements are met. The board is satisfied that undrawn bank facilities will be sufficient to meet continuing needs. The board is also confident that loans due to repayment in the next 3 years can be replaced by equivalent funding. Okay, so loans due for repayment in the next 3 years can be replaced by equivalent funding. So they don't have any particular financial issue. Business integrity, CC's board is committed to safeguarding against the risk of fraud, bribery, and corruption, and ensuring commitment to honesty that avoids false claims and misleading statements. CC's code of conduct and rigorous ethics training are designed to maintain stakeholders' trust in the company's integrity and avoid legal penalties. So they kind of mentioned their risk. Okay, they have mentioned their risk, that health and safety, tender, project delivery. These are some specific risks, but they haven't given any particular data, I would say, for the first question here. But we know that we have given the margin here, that the project of Beetle must have that particular margin, so that board will be easily for that. And similarly, the mistakes that we did in Alphia should not be repeated in should not be repeated, I would say, for Beetle's project. These are particular data that we have got from here. These are particular data we have got from here. And further, the issue of the accident, you could refer this, that CC is obliged to report a 3 lakh fines it paid as a result of injuries to employees arising from failures to remedy dangerous conditions on site. So they might have some issues previously for accidents also. Now, second, okay, so press release of announcement of the new road in B2. So they have got some press releases now. That announcing new road between Gambail and Lake Eta, that are 20 billion. So see, the previous project was of $10 billion. Now this project is of a $20 billion, more than I would say, or double of its success. Road scheme between this will transform economy of Beetle's eastern region, cutting the average journey time through Isnadi Mountains by almost half. So that means previously this region took 10 hours to travel, but if this road is made, so now the project is going to be covered in 5 hours. The transport is going to be covered in 5 hours. Okay. So Minister for Transport Desmond Notiano said, "I'm pleased at last to be able to confirm the scheme, which will help enhance the eastern region's economic development. This region has been held back by poor roads through Isnadi Mountains. Flooding during the wet season has often caused traffic delays, and sometimes the road is impassable." Right? The new road will resolve all these problems. We have identified a preferred partner, which we invited to submit a detailed tender. So this is by the government. Huh? This is announced by the government. So they have got their partner contract to construct the road. At the moment, the identity is confidential, but we hope to announce shortly. I can confirm that they are outside from Beetle. They are outside from Beetle. Now see these two lines. These two lines are the criteria they have given. These two lines are the major criteria that they have given, that low price will be an important criteria. So see the question 2. If someone remembers the question, he's gonna be acing this paper easily because he knows what to look for in which exhibit. So here I can say you that this exhibit, this question is being tackled by exhibit 2, that you make sure that the difficulties that CC, the Cofold might face, in completing this criteria. So they have got that. The criteria here. So we know this is in exhibit 2. We appreciate, low price will be an important criteria. We shall also want the contractor to carry out work efficiently. So the government want low price, Beetle's government, efficient work, timetable being as short as possible to ensure that disruption during construction will be kept to a minimum. The government will guarantee any debt finance that the contractor needs to fund the project, and government is going to give the debt finance also. Okay. So work efficient, low cost, low price. We appreciate our concerns in some villages in the mountains and damage to the habitats and number of species. We shall expect our chosen contract to limit environmental footprint. So they want low cost, they want work efficient, they want less disruption to the environment. Now these are the criteria of government. It will require base our construction plans on mitigating the environmental impact of the road when it happens. On mitigating the environmental impact of the road when it happens. When completed, we are certain that the new road will give a big boost to our country's economy and be a lasting achievement of this government. Okay. So second, the third is forecast revenues and cost. So they have given you the revenue and cost also. It is assumed that construction will begin in May 2002 and completed in December 2005. Progress payments from Beetle's government are scheduled as follows. So 30th April, first interim 20%. So see, it is assumed that construction will begin in May, but they are paying us on 30th April. They are making the first interim payment, that's 4,200, 2003. Right now, see, this is in May 2002 and this is 2003. So they are not making or paying us advance, right? So this is again an issue here. Now see the difficulties you'll face. So you are not getting the advance payment and you are doing the expenses by your own. Now think of it, the points that can be discussed here, that if any at the point of time, at any of the middle point, that there seems to be a conflict. And if there's a conflict, you have invested your funds, but you haven't got the funds back. Okay. 30th April 2003, first interim 20%, Then 30th April 2004, second interim payment will be given. 20th Feb 2005, third interim payment, and 31st December 2005, final interim paid to be paid. 31st December 2005, final amount to be paid. Okay. Project's cost, projected cost, approx cost. You see 3150, 590, 5840, 442, and 19,000. So see, simply you can see that your profit is 21,000, 19,000. So you've got 2,000. So profit is 2,000 divided by 21,000 into 100. So 9.5%. But again, how can these be the locked figures? You can discuss that now. How can these be the locked figures, guys? There must be some assumptions behind that, and the assumptions can be varied. For example, at point of construction, if the weather went bad, then these are not the actual costs that can be incurred. Just a second. There's an azan time here. Yeah. So you can see here that we have a 9.5% of profit margin. But again, these are on the fixed numbers. Number can be varied. So there should be a what if analysis. So what is what if analysis? It's basically if the weather went good, what are the numbers? If the weather went average, what are the numbers? If the weather went bad, what are the numbers? These analysis needs to be done. These things needs to be done. Then only these things needs to be done. Then only we can say that these numbers are fine. Otherwise, these are just the fixed numbers, and the actual numbers will be different. And same thing happened with the contract. Same thing happened with the contract in Alfia, that they might have worked for the fixed numbers, and then actual results will be different. Have gone different. Then Exhibit 4, outline contents of PID and summary of operational issues. So they have made the PID, okay, operational issues, personal responsibilities. So this is not how the PID should be looked at. If you remember the class of Railco, just check that I have made the PID there. So it was around a page lengthy PID, a page length PID. This is not how the PID should be looked. There are many issues that are skipped in the PID. Okay. And the operational issues, that cost and time constraint, cost and time constraints for stages of construction, cost and time constraints for stages of construction. So Gamvili and Omicron 4.7 billion, Omicron Nohasa 5.5, Nohasa and Zitterdown 5.2, Zitterdown and Legida 3.6. So these are all the costs. These are all the costs. These are the months in which the cost is going to be incurred. And now they have the main risk here, health and safety, right? Make sure that health and safety risk can be minimized by reading health and safety manual. They must have given the manual to the staff now that you have to follow these requirements. Staff training, on-site procedures, including handling dangerous substances, removing hazards, and dangerous conditions with regular monitoring and site management. Similarly, inspections by health and safety manager and internal audit. So these are the health and safety risk, and this is how the entity is going to manage that risk. Then we have supply chain, competitive tendering, contracts showing target requirements, procedures for changing terms. And we have environmental issue, program for disposal of waste, energy conservation measures, carbon emission reductions. But how many risks are missed here? Financial risk. If any health and safety consequence happened, reputation risk, project quality risk, these risks are missed here. That should be written. These risks are missed here. That should be written. So see, they have asked you to criticize not the junior member because you don't have an experience, but this manual, that this requires much improvement here. This requires many types of improvements here. Similarly, many issues have been left in PID. We have to look that also. Now remember the emergency meeting that must have been called by the accident that happened at a construction site, the accident that happened at the construction site. So we have to read this exhibit So we have an idea that what was the accident, what exactly happened. Okay, so we can look at that. So transcript of emergency meeting on 20th July at CC's head office following protests against construction of the new road in Beetle, Burden Mother, Emina Bodia, Alan Chang, Pat Singh. These are all the things to be looked at. The meeting began at 10 a.m. Burden opened the meeting by playing the following clip from Beatles news program, The Break-In. Presentator. Two protesters were seriously injured last night as they broke in one of the construction sites for new road through Isnadi Mountains. So now the construction has started, and Beetle is basically a home to a natural habitat. So the protesters might want that they don't want to get this particular issue collapsed, right? So they break in the escalation of recent protests against new road. Protesters have been unhappy and they have not been able to meet with Burton Wather, chief executive. Protesters wants to meet with Burton Wather. Our reporter Iris Evazik is an outside the site. Iris, what can you tell us about the break-in and the injuries to the protesters? So reporter, it appears that number of protesters create a diversion outside this entrance. Whilst the two security staff on site investigated, other protesters broke in elsewhere, close to where a break-in was attempted last week. On that occasion, the security staff spotted protesters and prevented access. This time, however, two protesters got it. It seems that one collided with a van driven by an employee of CC, and the other protesters was apprehended by another CC employee and was subsequently taken away by police. No representative from CC made any comment events, and we have not been able to speak with any of the employees involved because such type of circumstances, if happened, the management asks employees not to give any comment and they get them back to the entrances, right? Now see, however, as we led away, the protesters who was arrested shouted out about the protesters injured by the van. They ran him over. The van deliberately went straight from him and ran over him. So the two protesters that got in, one had an accident, and that accident was referred in the question. Okay, and that accident was referred in the question. So this time, however, two protesters got in. It seems that one collided with a van driven by an employee of CC, and the other protesters was apprehended, and other one employee was subsequently taken away by police. So one got collided by the van, and the other one got over him, and the police taken away. So now this clip was played in the board meeting, and guys, this type of things happens in a company. I work there, right? So these type of meetings happen. So Burton, I thought that showing the news report was the best way to brief what happened. Although Alan has found out more since. Alan, I've spoken to our employees in our staff room from Shoreline Security, the security firm in Beetle, which we use. It seems that they both went to deal with the protesters. Okay, so we deal with Shoreline Security, and they have two employees at the main gate or at the entrance, and they both went. So why there are only two employees for the complete field? Ethical and reputational concerns, huh? The question, remember the question, ethical and reputational concerns. So this particular meeting is for that question. Huh? There were two security staff on site. Yes, the contract only states that the security post should be manned at all times. The news report mentioned an attempted break-in last week. Were we told about it? The security staff said that they reported to their managers, but no one from Shoreline Security appears to have contacted us. So the last week also this happened, this break-in, but that was controlled. But if that would have informed to the board earlier, board might have installed many security guards and this type of accident could be avoided. But this never happened because they didn't inform. This never happened because they didn't inform. What more do we know about what happened once the protesters got in? The protesters who was injured ran across an unlit server road and the van collided with him. Should we area have been lit better? So light better was there. Apparently, lighting was one of the things picked by Lee Kurata, our health and safety manager, when he visited the 2 months ago. So see, there was no light. The controls and the weaknesses. There were two security guards. There was no light. The health and safety visit was 2 months ago. The health and safety visit was 2 months ago. Staff said that the lighting was going to be fixed before internal audits visit planned for next month. And why the internal audit visits are planned? They should be spontaneous. In our company, the internal audit visits are not planned. They spontaneously visit. Why isn't Lee here? Lee has been of sick leave last 6 weeks. And since last 6 weeks, if Lee is not present, then who's the health and safety manager in charge? We have got a temporary replacement now till the gap caused by Lee's absence. So we will have to get a temporary. We haven't got the replacement. Now these all are the issues. Lee's been off. Did Lee submit a report on site? I did receive it, but the points were generally minor. We had so much else to discuss at the board meetings recently that I haven't had a chance to report. Now see, the CEO is saying that I haven't got the chance to discuss health and safety issues because we had many more things to discuss. What is the thing important? What is the thing important then? What is the thing important than health and safety, huh? And you guys have not discussed the issues till the accident happened. What more do we know about the protesters we collided with the van? I haven't spoken to the van driver, but I have yet spoken to the security guard who chased the protesters. He didn't see the collision, only the aftermath. How about the protesters who claim to have seen his friend being run over? I'm not sure whether he would have been able to see clearly what happened as the lighting was so poor. He would also fallen over on the patch of oil. There was no light and there was an oil also, which hadn't been mopped up. This was why the security guard was able to catch him. You told me earlier, Burton, that our lawyers have advised us not to make any statement, that we are responsible, and the police and health and safety authorities. So we'll be looking at the site over the next few days. That's all correct. Of course, we shouldn't admit to any responsibility for the injuries. I'll be flying out to Beetle this afternoon. Okay. When I get out there, I'll issue a statement to the press saying that we regret the injuries, but protesters who trespass on the building sites have only themselves to blame. So Burden is going to say that you are guys the responsible. We haven't done anything. We'll ensure the sites tidied up, lights fully on. I'll speak to the staff that they make sure that they are all saying the same things. They'll get the hardship bonus because of all the stress they had the last night. So he's making sure that the staff is not seeing anything, and he'll give them a hardship bonus. That means the bribe. So again, against the ethical concerns, right? I'm fed up with these protesters and the way they are disrupting this contract. So Burden and Alan leave the meeting. Emina and Pat, private conversation. So I'm worried about Burden will say and do when he's in Beetle and his attitude and the issues we have discussed. Can you send me a memo, the confidential memo? Huh? Burden goes to Beetle, setting out your views. You can be as frank as you like. I'll keep the confidential memo. I'm also not happy generally how risk has been managed and controls have been operating. So I would like to draft a summary of control weakness, the control weaknesses, and how they should be remedied. I want board to be clearly what the problems are and what we must do. Also, other companies have separate audit and risk committee rather than single audit committee. Please, can you prepare a briefing paper setting out advantages of. Now, here comes the format also, that you have to write down the advantages of having separate audit and risk committee. You have to write down the advantages of having separate audit and risk committee. Okay. So report of an interview with Burden Wather in Omagland Daily newspaper. Big data will help CC gain strategic advantage. So CC will be at the forefront of construction sector in Omagland, using big data to gain strategic advantage. According to Chief Executive, We must make full use of the information available on the traffic volumes and road conditions to run our operations efficiently and seize new opportunities to enhance shareholders' wealth. Mr. Vada wishes CC to develop big data capabilities with current site smart initiatives. He believes that enhanced big data capabilities will help CC gain road infrastructure management contracts which are becoming available. So previously, the governments of Omakland, Alphia, and Beetle have managed their country's road networks themselves, only using companies like CC specific maintenance construction work. Now, however, the governments are looking to subcontract the management of some of their road network to private sector partner who will plan maintenance as well as carrying out. The private sector partner will have ongoing responsibilities such as traffic control and signage. Their income will be in the form of fees paid by the government. So basically, the government is now what thinking to, I would say, outside provide subcontractor the work. That's responsibility of the governments. Okay, that's responsibility of the governments. For example, the government of Omakland have managed their country's road networks themselves, only using companies like CC. However, the governments are looking to subcontract the management of some of their road network to private sector partners. Now, Alphia and Beetle's government is also looking for the same thing that Omakland is doing. Okay, who will plan maintenance as well as its carrying out. The private sector partner will also have ongoing responsibilities such as operating traffic control and signage system. So their income will be in form of fees paid by the government on road users or a combination of both. Mr. Weather is sure that CC will be able to provide what each government wants. CC will provide an integrated package of construction and support services that none of our competitors can watch. We shall be partner of choice for all three governments. So they want a company that can be chosen by all of the three governments for all of the tasks of road networks they want to give. So guys, once we have done all the exhibits, now what we have to do, we have to read the questions again and think of it that whether we have initial or data or not. The financial and non-financial issues. Yes, we have got enough data here. The financial projected cost is given, the projected variables are given, so we can discuss that. And non-financial issues, we could discuss about the health and safety, we could discuss about the natural habitat, we could discuss about many things here, right? So this question, I would say, is easily drafted. Difficulties in CC, fulfilling the criteria, yeah, because the criteria was do the work as early as possible, and Isnadi Mountain's work is not that much easy with low cost. So we have a limited 8% margin threshold that we have to follow. Okay, so this can also be done. Critically evaluates and contents and operational issues of PID. So that's a good question to be attempted. Confidential memo of the ethical and reputational concerns. Yeah, bribe and asking staff not to say anything. The CEO doesn't present it, health and safety matters to the board. These are the ethical concerns, right? Then control weaknesses, oil, health and safety manager, light, 2 guards. These are the control weaknesses. Risk management committee, I told you this is the general requirement. I told you this is the general requirement. Then big data and all that. So we have got enough questions and we can attempt that. Okay, and we can attempt that. Now I have my sample answer with myself also. But first, what I will going to be doing, I'll be solving this question on the exam software, and then I'll present you my pointers just for you, so that any questions you guys attempt, you can just read the pointers and try to attempt. I'll try to solve 3 or 4 more questions with you guys for the practice. Okay, so now there's a namaz break, and after the break, I'll start the question on the exam platform. Okay. Yeah. So let's just start to draft question, right? And we'll have a couple of things to be discussed here. So we were attempting the September 18 question, right? We were attempting the September 18 question, and we have read this question completely. And now what we have to do, we have to draft this on exam platform. So what I have done, I've just opened the exam platform here, right? So what I have done, I have just opened the exam platform here. So we can easily start and try to draft here, right? The first part of this question. Basically, the question is not available, I'll say, because it's the blank workspace that I haven't opened here, because this question was not feeded in the exam platform. But slowly and steadily, when we'll be moving on to the questions that have been feeded in the exam platform, so we can try to attempt that, right? So we can attempt that, and we will surely be attempting that. Now, let's say open the word processor, and for the requirements, I'll just refer to the book that have been with you. So we are Alex Larson, the senior NED of CC. CC has been invited to tender for the contract for the construction of new road, a preferred partner of Beatles government. CC's finance team has drawn up financial forecast for the project. However, you have doubts about the contract. So this was the requirement, that we have doubts and we want to discuss in the next board meeting. So prepare a briefing paper. So now we are making a briefing paper. Okay. So let's just try to attempt the first requirement. So the one requirement is a briefing paper. Okay, we are attempting that, and this will discuss both of the parts. So briefing paper, both of the parts, and the first one is analysis. Analyze the financial and non-financial issues which will affect the final decision of whether to accept the contract. So we have to discuss financial and non-financial issues, and we have approx 22 marks, so 12 points needs to be discussed, right? 12 points needs to be discussed. So briefing papers format is simple, FAO, for attention of board of directors. Okay, for attention of board of directors. Now, first one is Beetle Road construction project. It's the A part. Okay, so Beetle Road construction project, right? So this is the first part that we are going to attempt. So now don't just directly dive into financial and non-financial factors. First, try to discuss some background, right? Don't just directly dive into financial and non-financial factors. Just dive into background, that how this contract appears. It offers entry to a market. In the Beetle, we haven't been in Beetle, okay? And similarly, successfully completion of this project is going to make some good relations with Beetle, and then can give us a competitive position. So try to start like that, right? Try to start like that, and then discuss the financial and non-financial issues, and then discuss the financial and non-financial issues. Okay, so the contract, let's say, since I really love when SBL went for typing, because when it's supposed to be written, it was really a hectic paper. But when it's of a typing, and if you are familiar with the typing, so that contract is very easy. If you are familiar with the typing, then the contract is very easy, I must say, and the paper is very easy. So the contract appears to be similar. I would say contracts appear to be similar type of a contract which CC is willing to undertake, right? Which CC is willing to undertake which CC is willing to undertake with capacity of huge profits and cash flows, as the term was discussed, same, right? It also offers entry to the market. Okay, it also offers entry to the market in Beetle and successful completion of the project might. Now remember the skills that were asked. The skills here were analysis. So you have to analyze in both ways, financial as well as non-financial. So it also enters entry to the market and be the successful completion of the project might provide competitive advantage to CC, and also CC might become the preferred partner of future projects of P2. So you started like that, right? This is how you are going to do. This is how. First, start with some generic points and obviously linking it with the scenario. You have to link it, right? Don't just directly deep dive into the requirements, okay? Probably the first one, okay? Similarly, now the project is much larger than CC has an experience of doing. 20 billion it was, right? Just let me just, yeah, compared with 10 billion, preferring the two highest contracts, right? 20 billion compared with 10 billion, okay? Billion for ring road of Megland. Okay, much larger than CC has an experience of doing. 20 billion compared with 10 billion of ring route, huh? 10 billion of a ring route with Omega. So this, and after that, try to write more points that for completion, CC has to, I would say CC for completion, CC will be making or has to make a substantial commitment, okay, substantial commitment for resources, okay, and finances, because there were finances that were issued late, okay, resources and finances, substantial commitment for resources and finances, limiting the ability, yeah, this needs to be a starter here, limiting the ability to undertake other projects, okay, limiting the ability to undertake other projects, okay. Now the uh, following are the financial and non-financial, okay. Following are the financial and non-financial, I would say, issues which will be considered before the final decision. Before the final decision is taken to accept, the contract. Okay, before the final decision is taken to accept the contract. So financial issues, bold and underline that. Okay. The first thing. Now prioritize the points, right? SBL requires prioritizing, that you are emphasizing on the major points on first, right? So financial issues. The best point I think that can be discussed here is the profit margin. The best and the first point, because every business organization works for profits, right? And if you're not discussing the profit margins, then again there could be issues, there could be issues that you are not doing, so therefore the profit margins needs to be discussed first. So our directors and shareholders will be clearly concerned on the profit margin of the project, okay? Profit margin of the project, the forecast profit is of 2 billion, which estimates a margin of 9.5%, okay, on 21 billion revenue, okay. This is above. Now this was above, there was a margin mentioned somewhere, so this is above the margin of 8%. Now link it with the scenario. Mention 8%, mentioned where it was mentioned now, where it was mentioned. So mentioned where, I guess in the first exhibit. 8%. See, here it was mentioned. Tendering. It was mentioned in, I would say, annual report. So mentioned in annual report. So again, this was a financial issue to be discussed, right? This project or this margins, right? These margins should also be viewed in comparison of margins of other projects around to have a better view. So this needs to be discussed. So first point, that 8% versus 9.5%. First point is 8% for 9.5%. Okay. Okay. Now this contract might open door for future profitable contracts of B2. Okay, which can be motivating for shareholders, obviously, but they might keep the contract of Alphia. It was of Alphia, right? In they might keep in ICE, they might keep contract of Alphia in ICE, right? Which gave losses in the first 4 years. That was mentioned somewhere, right? In the first 4 years, that was mentioned somewhere. So this is SBL, and discuss as much as you can. Discussed as much as you can. This further questions the reliability of the forecast as the same were made for the contract of Alphia. So the forecast now a question here. Kind of skepticism, but see, they have asked us to analyze, right? So they haven't asked us to avoid skepticism. If there's kind of a skepticism can be made, so they can be made, right? Okay, this would further be argued that CC's team have an and we are the senior and finance and non-executive director. Remember the role, right? So that you could refer to the team and all that. So we are here, the Alex Larsen, the senior NED of CC. Yeah? CC's team have an experience of dealing with such construction projects and experience of dealing internationally. Yeah? And experience of dealing internationally. So they will be, I would say, so now the forecast can be sort of can be reliable, right? Now the forecast can be reliable. This could be a first point. This could be other point, right? Similarly, shareholders might be concerned of the deadlines, right? Yeah, because as the deadlines have not been passed, there might be a delay in revenue generation. How's that possible? See, it was here in this exhibit. They have told you that the first interim revenue at 30th April, and if the 20% work is done. So if they'll ensure that if the 20% work is done, they will then give you the revenue, right? This will jeopardize amount of revenue or the time of revenue. Okay, so another one. Similarly, did you guys remember about the dividend increase that was mentioned in the first page? So given the recent increase in dividend. Now see how I'm making the point. Huh? Now see how I'm making the point. Given the recent increase in dividend, shareholders might expect same trend for further years. Committing this project might lead resources and funds being stalled for completion. And since the amount to be received is not an advanced, it's not advanced, right? There might be cash flow issues. So there might be cash flow issues during the tenure of this project. Huh? There might be cash flow issues during the tenure of the project. Huh? Similarly, now shareholders may also be concerned if the project, if the project is financed by debt, right? Extra debt. Shareholders may have concern. Now see, these all are the financial points. May have concerns over the financial risk of company, right? Of company, right? And hence high interest cost that needs to be beared. And I guess these 2 points can be merged. They kind of are of similar nature. So these 2 points can be merged, right? These 2 points can be merged, huh? And similarly, there was a discussion of the debt, I would say, that the covenants needs to be followed, the financial risk. Huh? So that covenants needs to be followed. So CC might not be able to get extra debt because of the covenants that needs to be followed, huh? Resulting in lesser returns for the shareholders till the completion of Beetle project, till the completion of Beetle project. So think of the points that you can write and write them. Think of the points that you can write and write them. Now, non-financial issues. What are non-financial issues? Huh? What are non-financial issues? So first, in non-financial is involving in a, I would say, a new country. There won't be the same suppliers and labors. Huh? There won't be the same suppliers and labors. So you have to deal with some current problems also. Similarly, you have been doing work in Omegland and Alpia, which is kind of a flat in nature, but now you are developing the mountainous area. So it's kind of a little experience that you have there, right? And easily doing that or without practicing and doing that might be an optimistic view, I would say. Might be an optimistic view, I would say. So we could discuss these points. This project involves, yeah. So right now, yeah, this project involves dealing in an international zone where CC has not done any project. Okay, CC has not done any project. So that means they have to deal with local suppliers as well as local labor, which initially can be a difficult task, okay, which initially can be a difficult task. Also, CC have an experience of working in an flat horizon such as Omegaland as well as Alphia, working on tracks like B2, which includes mountainous area, can be a difficult job. Try to avoid spell errors, right? Can be a difficult job and can be a difficult job and without training, allowing the staff to work can be hazardous. Okay, can be hazardous. Okay, some areas development might not be as easy as it is initially anticipated. Yeah, some areas development is not that much easy, right? Similarly, new supplies, right? New supplies needs to be developed. New supplies needs to be developed to avoid supply delays. To avoid supply delays, right? New supplies needs to be developed in Vito to avoid supply delays. Similarly, this might require to pay at a premium. We can pay a premium, right? If the supply, if we want to don't delay supply, so we might have to pay a premium to supply a particular thing on those mountains, right? So that our supply is on time in required area. Staff might also be required to pay a premium, to be paid at premium because of mountainous area, right? Mountainous area. Similarly, CC might be lacking operational systems, right? Required support a project of this size. Yeah, it's kind of we can say that the location itself can be a dangerous one. Further, the site smart development, yeah, site smart development is planned for, I would say, the next 2 years, right? That's not complete, so there's an issue, right? And this may cause disruption, and this may cause disruption while it is happening and perhaps result in delays for Vito's contract. Okay. Similarly, Beatles might also, or Beatles not, CC. CC might also face lack of central management resources because CC's audit committee seems to be occupied or already occupied, right? And have significant current responsibilities to be looked at. Okay, scratching those might result in inefficiencies. Okay, scratching those might result in inefficiencies. So discuss, we have written how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 approx, and two kind of and starter ones. So I can say that these particular points are fine, right? These particular points mentioned here are fine for the 22 requirements, for the 22 marks, right? Now let's discuss the B part. So our 32 marks question is attempted. Now let's discuss a B part. So our 32 marks question is attempted, and we can proudly say that we have done, we can proudly say that we have done the 32 marks question. Okay. So now what we're gonna be doing, we won't be doing any particular thing or any new format, because the format is continued. If you can see in the classes, if you can see in the question, that briefing paper is for both of the requirements, right? Briefing paper is for both of the requirements. So B part needs to be discussed, and here some commercial sense needs to be looked at, right? The difficulties that you might face for completion or completing the tasks that were given by transport minister. That's the, I would say, the criteria that was set by Desmond Otiano, the transport minister. So think of it, the cost. Yeah, this was the first criteria because they want the lowest cost possible. This was the first criteria because they want the lowest cost possible. So discuss that. And before the cost, again, a starter line would be a good thing, because mentioning these starter lines and things are supposed to be the good things. So the difficulties which CC will face are how Beatles government has defined its requirements, right? Potential conflicts between different requirements and outcomes by which the contract will be judged. Outcomes by the contract will be judged, but CC can do to little to influence. So this is kind of a starter line you can discuss, and then mention the criteria, the cost, and then mention the criteria, right? If CC is awarded a contract, think of it, right? If you are awarded a contract, what cost adverse consequences you're going to be facing? What cost adverse consequences you're going to be facing? So the contract must be won at lower price, because it was stated by them that I want the lowest cost as possible, lowest price. Now what this will do, this will limit profit margins. Okay, so this will limit profit margins and may take its position very difficult. Okay, if cost overruns occurs. Yeah, if cost overrun occurs similar to the cost in LPR, so this would be a difficult thing, right? As there will be government involvement, okay, and media scrutiny. Media would also be looking at that why the cost has overrun, right? Clearly, lower cost would impact quality as well as decision on the routes that to be taken, because if there's a hard route, CC won't be willing to make that route. CC will be willing to look for an alternative or a lower possible route, but that might be dangerous, right? So as well as decision on the routes to be taken, right? And routes that offer low cost, routes that offer low cost will be preferred, okay? Decision on the routes that to be taken and routes that offer low cost will be preferred rather than the best traffic routes, right? Rather than the best traffic routes. Similarly, time scale and disruption. That all also gonna be an impact. Huh? Completing a road quickly may indicate that CC is being efficient. Okay. However, problems may arise if the timetable is unrealistic. Yeah, this is an issue. The timetable is unrealistic, right? DC may have to employ extra staff, possibly more expensive, meet deadlines, okay? Meet deadlines, jeopardizing cost controls. Also, less time may mean the period of disruption is shorter, okay? But that does not mean that the amount of disruption, but that does not mean that the amount of disruption be less. Now the time to deal with be less, right? But the amount wouldn't be less. Yeah. There might be high disruption caused to nearby existing roads, okay? High construction being undertaken hurriedly, okay? Construction being undertaken hurriedly. So we have made 2 points now. Okay, think of another point. Environmental footprint. They want the environmental footprint less, right? So this needs to be discussed. They want the environmental footprint less. So CC will be judged on whether it minimizes the footprint, okay, on new roads. However, this needs to be clarified that new roads will inevitably cause noises, okay, and pollution until it's completely made. Okay. Local geography means that the road will inevitably cause permanent disruption to human and animal communities. Might be this is the reason that they have a, I would say, protest, right? As it cannot be rooted anywhere else. So these are the points that you can write here, right? We have got, I guess, one or two extra points can be written here. We can say that similarly, the protest could arise here. You could discuss the protest here, right? The positive impacts needs to be highlighted to the local residents about route clearance and uh, lesser traffic and easy crossings would enable their life or would life getting easy. Okay. Similarly, the performance measurement, that's an issue. That how performance will be evaluated of CC because payment depends on performance, right? Lower cost requires lower cost could result in low quality, but government want high or effective work. Therefore, development of performance measures are important factor prior starting so that at end it doesn't uh, lead to conflicts. So for 8 or 10 marks, we have discussed around 5 or 6 points, which I guess is fine, right? Since this industry is a difficult one. So which I guess is fine, right? So this is how your first question is now done. This is how your first question is now done. So that's all from my side till now. In the next class, we're going to be attempting the other 3 questions on this same software, and then we'll extract the answer. So this is how the questions and the softwares are used in these classes. What I want is to let you know that how to draft, and I'll try to solve as much as possible the exams that have been left, which we haven't solved, and to make sure that every student has occupied with enough practice to clear this exam. Okay, so this is all from my side. See you in the next class. Take care. Hi everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Well, now we have to complete our recording. That was, I guess, the Cofold construction we had just started, right? So we have to complete that. Let me share the screen with you, so it will be beneficial. And we completed of around 32 marks, right? So if we have completed of 32 marks, that means 68 marks are approximately left. So we have to do that, right? 68 marks are approximately left. So let's just do that. And this is our attempted, I would say that this is our attempted past paper, right? So we attempted in this manner. We want to extend it, so we can. And mainly the word processor is used. Spreadsheet not needs to be used that much, right? So 1A and 1B. Cofold, again, it's a construction company. I told you if someone has attempted Domosco, I have solved Domosco with yourself, I know, in the previous sessions of our classes. So if someone has solved Domosco, so they're gonna be making it or finding this question easy because it's of the same industry, or someone who have worked in the construction sector, they surely be going to find this easy, right? But if someone has not solved it, so I've tried to explain it, and that could be done best by me. Okay, so let's just have a brief revision of the other questions and try to solve that. You must be remembering the industry. You must be remembering that there were some ethical concerns also, because the next question, not just the next question, that's basically on the project initiation document. Yeah, the next question is on project initiation document, and the other questions are on to the ethical concerns. If you can read that, prepare a memo addressed to Oliver Vesunga, which critically evaluates and outline contents, which critically will evaluate and outline contents and the summary of operational issues in the PID, which he has prepared and recommend improvements. And this is of 14 plus 4, that means 18 marks. So if you have got a question of 18 marks, so 9 to 10 valid points considering the skepticism skills. Now you have to skeptically evaluate, mention some judgments here, mention some question here, and you have to question the assumptions if there are any. So that's how you need to do it, right? So that's how you need to do it. Now, for project initiation document, I have previously told everyone that we have solved this type of a question in question name Railco. So anyone who is seeing this question, they can refer to the Railco where I have made the complete project initiation document for yourself. And that's how this will be an easy one, I must say. And I told you to allocate exhibits here. So if you're allocating exhibits here, you must have an idea that this will be from exhibit 4. Now, what is exhibit 4? That is basically outline contents of PID and summary of operational issues, where he has mentioned these three in the PIDs, right? He has mentioned these three topics in the PIDs. So only these three are not part of PID. There are many others, just like scope, just like omissions, just like purpose, just like objectives, just like assumptions, just like stakeholders, project constraints, similarly project personnel, project quality monitoring, communication. So these all are the issues that needs to be addressed here. And then they have maintained the risk. This was the summary of operational issues, right? This was the summary of operational issues. So here you need to mention what are the other operational issues that can be part of it, right? That can be part of it. Someone mentioned financial risk. Yeah, that can be part of it, because we are not going to get payment in advance. We are going to get payment at a accrued level, like once we have done the expenditure and then, right? So this needs to be, I guess, a well attempted question. I must say that those 32 marks were, I would say, the 12 marks were quite difficult, but the other marks are an easy one. So let's just try to do that and then close this question also. So now question 2, we have a memo. What I believe is, yeah, 1 was briefing paper. So 2 is memo. This is how you need to solve it, right? This is the complete pattern of your SBL paper. I'm solving it on the practice platform so that you must have an idea. And because I have a good writing practice on my laptop, so that's how this question can be solved easily. Now, 2, Oliver Lesunga from to Isa, and subject, we have project initiation document. Okay, and then we have a date. You can mention the exam date here. Okay, now this is, see, once you're starting the memo, you don't write you don't write an introduction heading here, but you give some comments, right? Memo is basically in terms of a reply for what you have been asked for. This is kind of a reply. Report or letter can be a question or anything you have sent, but this is a reply. So what you have to do, you have to start like this, that thank you for taking responsibility. Now, remember the case that this manager went ill, the junior takes the responsibility and made these type of hectic things. So you have to thank them, right? You have to thank them because he did that. If he wouldn't able to do that, you wouldn't able to critically evaluate that. So do that. The thank you for taking responsibility, for preparing the contents of the project initiation document. That's PID if you want to mention. Okay. And providing a summary of section of operational issues. Okay. So there are number of issues. There are number of issues which I want to raise about. Now see the formality, right? This is how the skepticism is applied. That there are a number of issues which I want to raise about what you have done, but I realize that you had not. Now you don't have to demotivate a junior person, right? But I realize that you had not had experience, or you have not, sorry, you have not had experience of major projects like this, and you should have had more help. Okay, now general comments. This is how you'll critically evaluate your PID. The contents appears at first, you're gonna be praise them to be in a logical flow, right? The PID covers numbers of significant elements. Okay. So omissions. Now mention the omissions here. That however, PID also needs to be include number of other elements, right, which are important enough to be covered under separate headings. Okay. Now these include the following. These include the following. Okay. Now purpose. What's purpose? Purpose of the project needs to be mentioned in PID. Okay. Purpose of the project needs to be mentioned in PID. So the project background, okay, needs to define the overall purpose of the project. Okay, to build a road which is resilient and as straightforward as possible to drive. Okay, this is the purpose of project. Since you are mentioning the omissions, so it can be of one-liners, right? Every action cannot be explained, right? Every action cannot be explained, right? The PID should detail the financial and non-financial The PID should detail the financial and non-financial objectives of the project or for the project. Okay. Any questions? Students who have questions in the class can ask me on the Zoom chat box. Otherwise, the students can go once taking the recording, they can ask me on WhatsApp. Okay. So project which CC's board will have to determine whether in the end the project has achieved or not. Okay. Achieve its outcomes successfully or not. Okay. The financial objectives will be focusing more on desired profit margins, okay, and keeping the costs with budget. Keeping the costs with budget, okay, and non-financial objectives also needs to be mentioned for Beetle as well as CC, because there are some non-financial benefits also, right? Such as road clearance and there will be a straight road, less time. So these are all other non-financial benefits, right? Then there should be an assumptions, right? Because if a project is being done on a certain assumption, then if those assumptions changes, the cost, the objective, the purpose can also change. So if you're not mentioning assumptions on the project initiation document, then in terms of conflict, no one will determine what exactly the assumptions are. Okay. So no one is going to determine what exactly the assumptions are. So the detailed forecasts and benefits, costs, and timings included in the detailed PID will have to be based on number of relevant assumptions. Okay, on number of relevant assumptions. The PID must explain what these are and the basis on which, yeah, basis of assumption must be mentioned, right? The basis on which the assumptions are made, okay? The PID also needs to explain whether the PID also needs to explain whether assumptions about completion dates, right, whether are based on work being continuous, right? Yeah, if the project deadlines are on the continuous work or there is an hazardous disruption being included in those deadlines, these needs to be explained, right? And how many days have been granted for how many days have been granted for disruption. Stakeholders. Okay, so you need to mention the stakeholders also, right? You need to mention the stakeholders also, like what are the project stakeholders and what they can offer, what they can commit, and what we have committed to them. So you have to mention the stakeholders also, right? The PID also needs to mention project stakeholders which have, or we can say that the BID also needs to mention most important projects, stakeholders of the projects. Okay, most important stakeholders of the projects will be indicating their influence. You know about the Mendelow's matrix, so indicating their influence over and interest in the project. Beatles, government, yeah, highlighted correctly. It's the most significant, I'll say the key stakeholder will be the key stakeholder. Okay, Beatles government will be the key stakeholder. The media and communities along with the route which will be affected are also the stakeholders that needs to be mentioned. Okay, now constraints. Yeah, some of the constraints that also needed, right? Some of the constraints that also needed to be included, right? The operational sector of PID also needs to be included a section on resource constraint, right? Include a section on resource constraints. For example, manpower constraint may be significant because you are relocating to a new country and then you will work there. So main manpower constraint may be significant, as CC may have to do quite a lot of recruiting, right, in a short space of time. This will include recruiting in Beetle, okay, which may be more complicated as CC will not have experience of men resource in Beetle. Okay. Any questions till now, guys? So we have mentioned, I guess, 5 things here, and the other things that we can mention. One of thing which I'll surely mention is project personnel, right? Project personnel. So project personnel, if you can see the question, they have mentioned, I guess, project personnel and responsibility, sponsor and manager. Now, how it's possible in a project, in a complete project, only 2 people are mentioned. There must have a project team, right? There should have, or there must have a project team. So mention the project team here also. So you have mentioned, now see, this is skepticism, right? That you are criticizing the selection of those 2 persons. You must have selected more. So you have mentioned the project sponsor, okay, and manager. Although they will certainly be important members of the project team, they may be important members of the project team. This section should start with the overall project management, okay, structure, which brings over together who has authority. Yeah, the ones who has authority, right? And lines of reporting. And lines of reporting. The other that can be discussed are, I would say, communication. Okay. Now these can be drafted by you if you have enough time. Project quality. These should be mentioned, like on whose factors, on or which factors project quality can be compromised, and on what factors project quality shouldn't be compromised, right? Now, operational issues. They want you to write on operational issues also, like what exactly the operational issues are. So see, in operational issues, they have given times and stages, cost and time constant for stages of construction, right? So see, mentioning just this, that Gamvile to Omicron is 4.7 billion, May 2002 to April 2003. Now, this is, I would say, a very lesser timetable that's mentioned. Now, that's a very lesser timetable that's mentioned here. What exactly needs to be mentioned here is an extended timetable. Like you guys can link your PID also, like click on that and go on to the extended timetable version. So this again is an issue. If you are making a particular document, so make sure you are making in a great detail. Otherwise, that would not add value that much, right? Otherwise, that would not add value that much. So time constraint, that the time constraint or a section in the summary of operational issues which needs to be supported by extended timetable. Okay, needs to be supported by extended timetable in the body of the ID. Strictly, perhaps the deadlines details would be better under a separate heading of deliverable. If you mention a separate headings for a deadlines, right? So that would have an extra value to be added. Deliverables, time constraint should also include limitations, right? Limitations in the timetable, where we cannot do much. For example, now mention examples where you want. See, this is a, I would see, it's a sea, it's a river. Just go and dive and write. For example, in rainy seasons, there might be timeouts. Now, cost constraint, right? So now, what's that? Cost constraint appears to be no more digital, or I will say no more total budgeted figures for each stage. Okay. Now, what exactly they are talking about? See, that's the cost conference, what they have mentioned, right? Billion, 4.7, 5. Now they are saying that it's just the total what you have mentioned before, right? It's just the total, like in here. Yeah. See, 3.1, 5.5, say 5.8, 4.4, it's 19 billion. But here, the cost constraints are not matching with that. So you also can highlight, right? You also can highlight. So this appears to be repeated information from the financial budget of the project, okay, included in the financial section of project, right? The summarized budget should include more detail, right, for each stage. For example, a breakdown of most significant cost at each stage needs to be mentioned. Now, what we are saying that you have just mentioned a totality, which was already mentioned, right? You have just mentioned the totality. The best here could be that you mention 4.7, 5.5, 5.2, and the most significant cost here that is incurring, right? So you have to challenge now. So you have to challenge. So make sure that you are challenging these type of things. This is how the skepticism is applied, right? Further area on the risk, this also needs to be covered, right? The risk section should be linked with major risk. Now, see, I'm linking it with the annual report. Major risk mentioned in the annual report. Where was annual report? In exhibit 1, right? In the annual report. So the major risk needs to be covered here, right? It should include for these risks summary, yeah, a summary of their likelihood. And whenever there comes a risk, you should mention the likelihood of that risk, right? Backed up with the justification to cover that risk, right? So this is how risk needs to be mentioned, right? This is how risk to be mentioned. And you can comment on environment or supply chain if you think that there have been some misses, right? You can think that there have been some misses, so you can comment on the supply chain and all that risk, and you can discuss financial risk appears to be significant concern as project uh, payments are not in advance. That risk needs to be mentioned in operational issues, right? Now, this is how, and now since you have written a memo, so you want to be, now since you have written a memo, so you want to be close it like a memo. Like, I appreciate, you will write, I appreciate that I have, I appreciate that I have raised a lot of points, right? That I have raised a lot of points, but I hope that all my comments are helpful. Okay, so that all my comments are helpful. Thanks again for doing this work while there was no project manager. Since there was no project manager, yet you have done the cost or done this work. Thanks a lot for you. I am very happy to discuss any points or any aspects of memo with you, right? And your name, Joe Isa. And this is how this question is done and dusted. This is how this question is done and dusted, okay? I might be writing too fast because my fingers are too healthy for a keyboard, but you can ask questions. And if anyone who is taking the class live can text me on chat box. And whereas the recorded lectures, any queries, if you have, you can text me on WhatsApp and ask them, right? You can text me on WhatsApp and ask them. Now, sir, what we are left with? So I will say that we are left with the other questions that were some reputational and ethical concerns, right? Now there are multiple questions that we are left with, I guess. A confidential memo for Imina, chairman of CC, which discusses ethical and reputational concerns, demonstrating skepticism skills, then a summary of CC's board to review control weaknesses discussed at the emergency meeting, stating for each control weakness, its consequences and recommendations, and the skills here are evaluation, so skepticism, evaluation, and then benefits or advantages of making a separate risk committee. Now, one of the student asked that, sir, if we just mention the generalized comments on making a risk committee or generalized comments uh, on this question while saying that CC should make risk committee and the pointers that we have learned from the book. So you are not going to get any mark. You have to link it with the scenario, the industry you are now aware of. You have attempted approx 50 marks of your questions, right? 32 and 18. Yeah, these are of 50 marks. So if you have attempted a 50 marks question, you now must have an idea that what exactly is going around in the question. Okay. Now, what was in the emergency meeting, if you can see in Exhibit 5, so it was basically the two protesters went into the Beatles, I would say, where the working was done, and the protesters got in, and one of the protesters got caught, and the other one, the car ran over on it, and the other protesters was apprehended by another CC employee, right? Taken away by police. No representative from CC had made any comment. Now, Burden was asked. Alan is a separate entity, right? Emina is the chairman. So these were the discussed things. The Burden at last said that this was not our mistake. It was of the protesters, but there were several issues that we identified, and now ethical and reputational concerns. Now you have to discuss that, right? Ethical and reputational concerns. That so far CC haven't made a comment, right? And then Burden was going, no, we shouldn't admit our responsibility of the injuries. I'm flying out to Beetle this afternoon. When I get out there, I'll issue a statement of press saying that we regret the injuries, but who trespass the business sites have themselves to blame. So such kind of an statement, despite knowing that there were no light, there were no, I would say, there were no light, there were oil patch there were two security guards only, there was no health and safety risk manager, there were issues that were not communicated to the board, although Burden knew. So these all are some ethical and reputational concerns, right? These all are some ethical and reputational concerns. Now that, okay. Now, other question was control weaknesses. Now, what are the weaknesses? Just discussed with me. You should write approximately 7 weaknesses here, right? Uh, Two security guards is the weakness. No light is a weakness. A patch of oil is a weakness. Okay. Similarly, health and safety manager was not a weakness. Internal audit visits were a weakness. So we have many weaknesses here. We have many weaknesses here. So what we have to do now, the confidential memo, chairman of CC, which discusses the ethical and reputational concerns. So approx 5 or 6 points, showcasing again skepticism skills. And you guys not don't know is you guys are not needed to write, right? Because I'll share the PDF with you. I'll download this PDF and will share with you. So you guys don't need that. Okay. Confidential memo to Emina Udhia from who's doing this work? Who is doing this work? You are Pat Singh, consultant, right? So you'll say here, uh, Pat Singh. Okay. Now, date, you should write exam date, whatever the exam date is, you should write that. Subject, burden, Vardha, comments. You are aware of the question. This is an easy question for you. If you are not, so let's read the exhibit 5 again. Okay. Let's read the exhibit 5 again. Now, I'm replying to your request because that Imina requested us to make a confidential memo. So I'm replying. This is how the memos. It's kind of a letter, you must say. I'm replying to your memo or your request for my views. Okay, for my views on the comments. For my views on the comments during the meeting. Okay, I appreciate that I may not be in possession of all the facts. However, I can understand why number of comments have caused. Now, that meeting in which that was discussed, the number of comments that have caused you concern for legal, ethical, and reputational concerns. Okay. Apologies, there was an internet glitch, reputational reasons. Okay. Now, ethical reasons. What's that? Making a statement. First thing is that what statement you are going to make. Either the patching that have or either the burden, what he has suggested, or the right things. And this all will lead to ethical concern. Okay. So our lawyers have prohibited to say anything, right? Have advised against us making a statement admitting our responsibility for the injuries to the protesters, okay, for the injuries to the protesters, and we should follow. First thing is to follow the lawyers, right? And we should follow their remarks, what they have suggested. Equally, burden, equally, burden, yeah, burden's name should be of caps. Yeah, you can take care of these type of things because at some point, these are some professional things, right, to be taken care of. Burden should not be hurriedly uh, making a statement and blaming all it on protesters. Okay, it should not be done at that much hurriedly because first case needs to be investigated. Okay, so not only could this be embarrassing if the truth went out, right? If the truth went out, but this could lead to revocation of contract if the Beetle government find out the violations or the comments that CE has made. Okay, the comments that CE has made. Okay. burdens, concern for staff uh, is understood, but making a false statement is not the solution, right? It's not the right solution. They haven't asked you for the recommendations, but again, now ethical leadership. See, ethics has been followed from the leader itself. But if the leader is making such comments and acting like this, so that means if the leader is making such comments and acting like this, so that means there's a concern over leadership, right? There's concern over leadership that the ethics is not being followed from the top level. So ethics is being followed from the top to bottom, right? Since CE, it is responsibility of the top management to control or to maintain ethical environment. It's the responsibility of obviously the CE that you have to maintain the ethical environment. If you're not maintaining the ethical environment, it's your responsibility within the company. Okay, you might be charged of. CC's annual reports also mention ethical or ethics as well as integrity being the, the main uh, reason to, I would say, or we can draft it like that, as well as integrity is being embodied in the staff of CC. You can write the full name for that, right? And commitment to honesty, which avoids false claims and misleading statements, right? Considering this is your purpose or this is your objective, Burton's comments seems to be neglecting these aims mentioned in annual report. So these were the aims, and this seems to be avoided in the Burton's comments. Similarly, attitude. This is also an ethical reason, right? Attitude to health and safety. Attitude to health and safety. Now, this also seems to be an avoider here. This attitude towards health and safety needs to be avoided here, right? Burden comments appears to be less focusing. Burden comments appears to be less focusing on health and safety, or less worried on health and safety, right? Of anyone on the side. Burden has not highlighted health and safety issues. Burden has not highlighted health and safety issues in his report meeting, in the board meetings. Although he was mainly responsible for health and safety being CE, but yet he did not fill the vacant position of Lee Kurata. Yet he did not fill the vacant position of Lee. That was your health and safety manager, right? Then meeting with the staff. This again is a good point in ethical concerns, right? Meeting with the staff. Now, what's that? That you are going to bribe them, right? You are going to bribe them. The purpose of meeting with the staff again seems to be misleading the authorities to drive the correct results, right? The proposed bonus of hardship seems to be bribing staff, right? To not to say the right things. There might be implied threat of intimidation to staff that if anyone spoke or said against CC might be terminated. So this again is an ethical concern, right? This again is an ethical concern. Similarly, now many, I would say, 4 ethical concerns. So discuss some, one more, and then transparency with the board, and then discuss reputational concerns also, right? So the report that was made by Lee mentioning health and safety risks were not presented to the board, right, in any meeting. This raises a question on transparency at the board level, right? That whether board is being provided with the full information. Yeah, that board has been provided with the full information, not just health and safety concerns. So now this issue that this thing was hidden from the board, now this raises question on the complete structure. Okay, so this raises question on the complete structure, that whether the things have been communicated to the board at the right time. The things have been communicated to the board at the right time. Okay. Now, reputation concerns. Now, what's reputational concerns here? Huh? What reputational concerns? Consequences of accidents. What's that? Now, what students usually miss here, they do not read the question. They have told you to discuss ethical and reputational. So you have to discuss both rather than just discussing one. Huh? Rather than just discussing one. So CC is already subject to media. Okay, so it's already subject to media, right? Attention as a result of protesters against the new road. So that we are already in media. We are famous, right? This is likely to be worsen what happened and led to an accident. Okay, it's likely to be worsen here. CC may suffer bad publicity and CC may suffer bad publicity if health and safety failings are found. Okay, health and safety failings are found to have contributed in the accident and may cause a legal consequence. Yeah, this could lead to a legal consequences taken against CC for health and safety failings. Okay, This is one of the ethical concerns or reputational concerns. Other is attitude towards protesters. Now, what's that attitude toward protesters? By taking this contract on, okay, CC has inevitably associated itself, right, with a project which is controversial, okay, and many dislike. It's a project with controversial and many dislike. However, burdens failure to meet the protesters appears to be increasing. Okay, the bad publicity CC is suffering. It gives clear impression that CC doesn't care about stakeholders' concerns. So if you're not meeting the protesters, that means you are not taking care of the stakeholder concerns. So these again are some ethical and reputational concerns, right? These again are some ethical and reputational concerns. So guys, I must say that we have done enough for this requirement, right? Now we have got some ethical and controls, weaknesses that we have got, right? Read the question again. A summary of CC's board to review assessing the control weaknesses discussed at the emergency meeting, stating each control weakness, its consequence and recommendation. And then at last, oh sorry, not the last, the part that this question is of last is that you have to mention a risk committee. Okay. Shall we move on to the question? Okay, guys. So shall we move on to the other question? Yeah, there have been many control weaknesses, right? There have been many control weaknesses. We're gonna be identifying the issue, right? Then weakness, what is that? Then consequence of that, and then the control that needs to be placed. So let's give an heading of B, that's summary of control weakness, because that is the part. Okay, so that is the part of control weakness here, right? So that is the part of control weakness, 14 plus 4, 18 marks, evaluation skills, right? So let's just discuss control weaknesses. Now for that, what you guys can do is to get table here. And for table, I must say that we have got three enough, right? Sorry. Wait a second. And we'll write approx 6 issues. So let's three. So we have got 6 issues. So we can write that, right? So this is, oh, we might need 7. So let's do, or if you can want You want, how many of you want, just write, just get that, right? Just get this thing covered. So now, summary of control weakness. So weakness is here, okay? Then we have consequence. Then we have recommendations. Okay, so this is how now health and safety manager. That was not present. This is the first issue that needs to be highlighted, right? This is the first issue that needs to be highlighted. So no effective oversight of health and safety due to Lee Kurata absence, okay? And no one to whom staff and subordinated subcontractors can communicate concern. This was the first issue. What's the consequence of that? We can say that this led to health and safety problems not being communicated, right? Health and safety problems not being communicated, as no one is uh, performing inspections, okay? So no one is performing inspections, and adequate problems are being remedied, okay? Now, what could be the recommendation? Till the T is absent, so appoint interim health and safety, okay? Appoint interim health and safety manager until Lee returns from absence, and ensure there is full cover whenever Lee is absent in the future. Okay, so the first issue resolved here. Let's do the second one. Now, what's second? That was security presence. Yeah, security. There were only 2 staff against many predictions. So inadequate number of staff, okay, on duty, demonstrating uh, that contract specifications with Shaolin security are not detailed enough and are not covering complete site. So the security should be covering the complete sites, right? Security, what was the consequence? That security staff would be unable to deal with quickly disturbance quickly and effectively. Okay, so this was the consequence. Now recommendations that discuss Shaolin security, mending contract terms to ensure adequate number of security guards are presented covering complete premises. Okay, now the third one is oil, lighting, oil. These all are the issues of controls, right? These are the control weaknesses. So you have to mention all the control weaknesses that you have seen throughout there. You have to mention all the control weaknesses that you have seen throughout there. So oil, now what's that? So failure to respond to the health and safety manager or sorry, failure to clear up a patch of oil, okay, shows failure to follow internal procedures, okay, and inadequate inspections by site management. Because if there's an oil being flown, that means inspections is being not being done regularly, right? Inspection is not being done regularly. Increased on-site accidents due to patch of oil, which will increase, I would say, which is dangerous for staff as well as personnel visiting, as well as personnel visiting the site. Okay. Now the third is issue instruction to the staff for cleaning up premises regularly. Okay. And managers must carry out inspections and should be mentioned with evidences. These inspections should be mentioned with evidences, right? So these inspections should be mentioned with evidences. Now, the other one was lighting. Okay, so other one was lighting. Failure to respond to H&S manager report that mentioned lighting was the key issue, right, at the premises. This was highlighted by Ria. This was highlighted by Ria. Okay. Now, increased risk of site accidents as the staff and person would not be able to visualize or to have clear vision of the premises. Guide, instruct staff to get a complete premises to be enlightened, okay? And regular checks on lights to be done. Okay. Now, internal audit visits. These are planned. Why the visits are planned? Come on. Why the visits are planned? You should do some surprise, right? The plans. And the last last planned visit was around 2 weeks or 2 months ago, I guess. So, yeah, you have to mention that as a weakness, right? So, internal auditor visits or failure to visit, okay, the site so far, and the fact that the visit is scheduled, rather than unannounced dates indicates that the control is not efficient. Okay. Health and safety issues will not be identified if there are no audit visits. Now, see, you have written two comments, right? So you have to consequentize two issues. So if there are no audit visits, further, if staff knows about audit visits, the things will be cleared up. Okay. Yeah. So there should be regular internal audit visits alongside surprise visits. Make sure all health and safety regulations are adhered. Okay. So many weaknesses have been done now. I guess these are enough for 14 marks. You are explaining the weakness, consequence, and recommendations, right? So the third and the last part of this question is that a briefing paper for CC's next board meeting. Now, this requires a separate format here, right? Commercial acumen. What commercial acumen is? It's commercial sense that you have mentioned, or you have the commercial sense with you. Skills in identifying benefits that would be relevant to CC in establishing a separate risk committee. Okay, so let's just attempt this one also. Or we are going to make briefing paper. Okay, now remember the benefits of risk committee, and then we have to make sure that we link it with the scenario. So advantages of establishing separate risk committee. The two which I remember is that audit committee burden will be less now, right? Similarly, internal audit would have a clear division because they will be reporting now to risk committee also. So mix of membership, it's one, right? This paper, this is how you will start, right? This paper considers advantages of risk and establishing risk committee. Okay, so let's do mix of membership that yeah, just a second. So see, the current audit committee has to adhere governance, compliance, right? And is being accommodated with all entities because it's corporate governance compliance, right? They have to be accommodated with all entities. However, separate risk committee requires mix of membership between EDs as well as entities. Okay, they require a mix of membership between EDs as well as entities. Okay, EDs of CC. Now link it with the scenario. EDs of CC would have a better idea of the industry that CC is operating, right? And entities would bring multiple exposures, right? Entities will bring multiple exposures of different horizons, which ultimately will help CC to manage the risk profile. Okay. Similarly, we can say communication. Yeah, this is one of the benefit, right? Communication. That there will be a current system of quarterly meeting, right? A current system of quarterly meeting with audit committee quarterly meeting with committee may handicap effective communication of risks because they all must be overoccupied with range of issues to be discussed. However, if a separate risk committee is made, this will enhance communication on risk, right? This will enhance communication on risk as well as separate meetings will be held for risk management and you could just comment on risk management right now. Reassurance to stakeholders or shareholders. Shareholder would be gaining more confidence as industry or construction industry is a major, I would say, is a greater risk industry as the contracts can bring significant ups and downs. However, if if the project uh, have got if the project or sorry the company have got a risk committee, the shareholders might be the shareholders have got risk committee might or would be reassured as there is an separate committee looking on to risk profile, right? This would bring confidence of shareholders as well as might bring some extra investments. So this is also again a good thing, right? This is also again a good thing. Any other benefits that you think of? Any other benefits? We should write one more. What I believe is right. We should write one more rather than focusing on the other one. We should at least write one more. So now go on to the book and read out the benefit that a risk committee brings, right? What I remember is it will give you a risk appetite, creation or maintaining risk appetite. Pro, see, this is again a link or a, I would say a very good benefit for CC that through this committee, risk appetite would be low of CC, right? Of CC because through this committee, risk appetite would be look of CC because CC might be accepting projects which are above appetite of CC. And since this committee would have a responsibility to look at the projects or to scrutinize the projects prior accepting, this would again lead to an effective risk management. So this again is a good, I would say, risk, right? Now, the last one would be a conclusion, because briefing paper requires conclusion, or if you haven't made, so it doesn't, but it's kind of a recommendation, so you should make, right? So a risk committee with memberships and terms of references tailored as per CC's needs would be a value added feature in the progress that CC anticipates. So this is how this question also came to an end. And now this is completely right. This is completely been solved. Not completely, I would say. Our last part is still left, right? The last part is still left. But again, these two parts will be solved. So only 10 marks paper is left. Otherwise, we have solved the complete paper. So we're going to be doing it in the next class. Until then, you can solve this by yourself. This is, I would say, quite similar to the question that we attempted in machine shops, data analytics, big data. So you can attempt it by yourself and you can send it to me. Otherwise, I'll surely attempt it for you and will send you or will update in the LMS, right? So far, this is all from my side. You guys have enjoyed this session, you can text me for some good notes, and this complete solution will also be uploaded to the LMS. So you don't need to just take it, write it, you just can print and then do your work, right? And sir, what should we be doing for the upcoming days? So you should be solving as many as papers you can, right? Now go for December 18, inshallah. In the next class, I'll surely be solving the December 18 paper also. So try to solve that, and then we can look on to the other factors also. Okay, take care. This is all from my side. See you in the next session. Hi everyone. Welcome to last session for this Cofold construction company. I hope you guys have enjoyed questions, doing well. I would just recommend each and everyone that any of the question that you have attempted with me. So what you guys have to do, any of the question that you have attempted with me, you guys should make sure that you have read the exam and an answer of that, and you have attempted that question as well as with you also. Otherwise, the other best practice which I would suggest to every student is that if you see that I have solved a one particular question, then try solving that particular question by yourself first and then see the classes. So this will just help you, right? So let's get back to the question that was left for, and now the last question that was left, right? It is now October 2002, 6 months after CC began construction of the new road in Beetle. You are Pat Singh, a consultant employed by CC's board. Burden Wada, CC's chief executive, has asked you to help him to prepare for next board meeting, which will discuss investment in big data analytics and offering long-term infrastructure management for roads in Omegland, Alphia, and Beetle. Okay, prepare two presentation slides together with accompanying notes for the chief executive to present to the board, which discusses the benefits and the cost of CC investing in big data analytics and evaluate the possible opportunity to undertake long-term infrastructure management of the three countries and communication skill. Yeah, it is commonly known that mainly in communication skills, it is commonly known that mainly in presentation slides, communication skills are tested or such type of a unique format. If there's a particular unique format, just kind of a press release, or when your tone of speaking matters. So at that time, I would say that the matter here at that time, I would say that the thing that matters is the skills and their communication skills, right? But see what they have told you. They have told you to present the presentation slides, right, together with accompanying notes for the chief executive, means slides and notes discussing the benefits and the cost of CC in investing in big data and evaluate the possible opportunity to long-term infrastructure management of roads, right? So this is how you need to attempt this question. Now, once you have read this question, I would just say to think of, once you have read this question, I would just say to think of uh, the data that was available for this question, right? I was just left to thinking of that what data was available for this particular question. If I remember, there was a discussion of site smart initiatives, right? This was the discussion of site smart initiatives, what I remember. And apart from that, what I believe is there's not that much discussion on this big data. Let's revise if there is any particular discussion so that we could link that with big data, right? We could link that with that particular scenario that we are observing now. Yeah, here big data will help CC. So this particular exhibit is mainly that. Let's read it again and try to solve this question then on self. CC will be the forefront at the construction sector in Omegland in using big data to gain strategic advantage. That means our competitors didn't have that, right? Our competitors didn't have that. According to its chief executive, Burton Wather, we must make full use of all of the information available on traffic volumes and road conditions to run our operation efficiently and seize new opportunities to enhance shareholder wealth, right? We must make full use of all the information available in traffic volumes and road conditions to run our operations efficiently, okay? And seize new opportunities to enhance shareholder wealth. Now, Mr. Weather wishes CC to develop big data capabilities alongside its current Site Smart initiatives. Now, Site Smart is going alongside, but they want to develop big data initiative as well. He believes that enhanced big data capabilities will help CC gain roads infrastructure management contracts which are becoming available. Previously, the government of Omegland, LPI, and Beetle have managed thick countries road uh, networks themselves, only using companies like CC for specific maintenance and construction work. Previously, the governments of these three countries have used CC, but for some specialist work, and the road networks were dealt by government itself. Now, however, the governments are looking to subcontract the management of some of their work. Private sector partners will plan maintenance as well as carrying it out. So now that road maintenance task is now not on the government, it will be subcontracted to any particular company, and the private sector partners will also have ongoing responsibilities such as operating traffic control and signage systems, and their income will be in form of fees paid by government or toll charges on road users or a combination of both. So Mr. Wada is sure that CC will be able to provide what each government wants, and CC will be an integrated package. Now, what you have to do, you have to consider these future possible opportunities in mind and have to draft an answer in which, again, read the question, what be specific to the question. There's one issue highlighted in, I would say, in this paper again and again by examiner, that students sometimes do more than what the question has demanded, right? So benefits and the cost to CC for investing in big data analytics. Now the benefits and the cost, linking it with the scenario, and then evaluates the possible opportunity to undertake long-term infrastructure management of roads in three countries, okay? In three countries. So shall we move on to the attempting part of this question? Let's open the slides now. So this is your slide, and then slide 2, and then slide 3, slide 4. So we have to attempt only, I would say, 2 slides. We have to make 2 slides on it. So let's do that. Shall we attempt the question, guys, if there are no questions? So now, The slide one was the benefits and the cost to big data. Okay, the slide one was benefits and the cost to big data. So let's discuss big data investment. Okay, let let it bold and underline as well. Now, what could be the benefits of big data? What could be the benefits of big data? Just think of that and make it in as a benefit, right? So the benefit would be huge amount of data will be available, right? Similarly, predictive analytics, this will also be the benefit, right? You could predict then, right? Use for infrastructure, yeah, use for infrastructure management, okay? And then we have costs. And then we have costs. Now discuss these points, right? Now discuss these points here that pro investing in big data, CC would have an advantage. CC would have an advantage of access to huge amount of data, which will be gathered and can be used for analysis. This data would help CC to predict uh, multiple predict to perform predictive analytics to identify trends of route usage, heavy traffic times, right, and customer preference of route. Since this data will be available, appropriate decisions can be taken. Okay, so we covered these 2 points. Now let's discuss use of infrastructure management, right? Use for infrastructure management. Available of availability. The heading is availability of information and predictive analytics. This is the speaker note which covered these points. Now, use for infrastructure management. So let's cover this point also. Okay, let's cover this point also. So if CC is managing roads, big data, okay, will be helpful. If CC is managing roads, big data will be helpful, not only informing CC of current conditions on the roads, but also road keeping road users informed, right? But also keeping road users informed. If there are problems and delays, so they could automatically message, right? CC should have the information to be able to deal with them, right? CC should have the information to be able to deal with them. Okay, should have the information to deal with them as quickly and efficiently. Okay, now costs. Big data would have initially a setup cost. Okay, setup cost. Okay, and security cost. but also the expertise to, but it will also require the expertise to implement big data at CC, okay, to implement big data at CC and integrate it with the current data management. This would also require these expertise also, right? This would also require these expertise also. That is site smart initiative that have been taken, right? The cost should be compared, cost should be compared with the benefits uh, gained from big data, with the benefits gained from big data. Make sure cost should be compared with the benefits gained from big data, uh, so that implementation could be done in smooth. Okay, so this leads to this one. Although an alternative style in which you think of the other points you could discuss also. And best thing for the slide is because you have made the slide, so therefore you have to write less here. The slides have some extra points and the write-up has some extra points. So you have to do a less work. I prefer slides because you have to do a less work here, right? Now, what could be the infrastructure possible opportunity to undertake infrastructure management of roads in three countries? Yeah. So a long-term infrastructure management of roads in three countries. Like, so what could be that? So this is kind of a service development, huh? That you could make here. Similarly, basically now you will be managing the complete infrastructure, which is currently being dealt by the government, right? So now you are going to deal with this infrastructure management. Okay, so this is going to be your long-term income source also. Okay, and tolls will be collected by your, obviously, right? And conditions of road, now you will be responsible, right? Roads, bridges, drains. So infrastructure uh, management would be, I would say, infrastructure management would be a new source of revenue for CC, right? As this would be the operation that is being performed first time by the CC, right? That is being performed first time by the CC. Now, if you think of it, that is being performed first time by the CC, that will be performed. Okay. Avoid grammars by CC. CC might not have expertise in it, but they could deploy resources which can deal with such management easily, right? So we dealt with that. Now, if performed well in this particular head, this could possibly lead to an long-term revenue source of Cofold, because usually services providers are not changed that much easily until and unless they are until and unless they are not performing well. Benchmark for performance needs to be maintained to make sure this source continues for long future. Okay, for sites regularly or for the roads regularly used, CC could charge toll charges for management of the road. Okay, these charges would also would imply every person using this busy road, and thus can generate significant revenue being generated for CC. Let's go forward, okay? By charging toll, conditions of bridges, of roads, bridges would be uh, under the responsibility of CC. Therefore, Cofold would have to make, I would say, active responses to the issues if arise, if arising. So guys, I guess this is enough for the 2 slides and the 10 marks that were required in the communication skills also. Now see, we have done complete question till now, right? We have done the complete Cofold question and we have learned significant things, right? We learned basically that this was the thing. So far we have solved a couple of papers, I would say, and with specimens, I guess I've solved 5 specimens, 4 mini mocks. So these are already the 7 papers, and now this is the 8th one, right? Now this is the 8th one. So you now have an idea that what and how exactly you need to draft, what and how exactly you need to draft. So guys, now make sure. So guys, now make sure that you do your practice well, right? And you are following the practice material regularly. Let me show you the book in which I have done all these things, so you would have a better idea that what exactly you have to do. Just a second. The book is being loading. Yeah, so now the screen will be appeared with you. So far we have attempted, I would say, many questions, and we have covered the complete theoretical aspects as well, right? Complete theoretical aspects as well. Now see, these are the frameworks that you know, right? These models, the cultural web is being done in nearby, right? And types of change is also dealt in one of the question. So what you exactly need to know is, like, while attempting all the questions, you must know that you have been gone through all these other topics, right? All these other topics you have been going through, you have implemented, rather than just reading, guys. Rather than just reading, you make sure that you are applying these things, right? Applying these models. So inshallah, in the next classes, I'll be solving couple of questions with you again, and we'll make sure that you go through these models again and again, and you have a good idea that what and how exactly we need to do and what we need to do to make sure that our preparation for this paper is enough. And so far, if you have attempted any questions by yourself, you can just send it to me for checking, right? And then we'll discuss those, if your answers, if you have done some good work, I'll obviously be share it with all of you and will appreciate it. And this is how you need to prepare for SBL. So if you remember the orientation, I told you that first we'll start with some recent questions, then we'll dive into the theory, and then we'll do the previous questions and theories together, so that you had an appropriate practice to do. So this is how the things needs to be done. Okay. Any questions? You guys can text me. My WhatsApp number is with you. See you in the next session.